Hey guys, it's Lohpally here with another video, and today we're going to be going over one of our old traditionals, which is going to be our Before First Back series, which is our laning phase guide to playing aggressive in the early game. And today we're going to be talking about ZYRA. So as you can see right here, we're going to be playing ZYRA Kai'Sa. So let's just jump right into it. But before I do that real quick, just to talk about runes real quick, we're going to be taking Electrocute, Taste of Blood, then we're going to be running the Zombie Ward, Ultimate Hunter, then we'll also be running Mana Flow with Transcendence. But you can also substitute that for Scorch if you really want some extra poke in your laning phase. The main reason why I run this page is just because of the fact that I find that Electrocute gives me meaningful damage whenever I take big trades, and it also allows me to snowball the game in the early stages via Electrocute damage from auto attacks. So, primary thing that we want to be focused on in the early stages of laning phase is brush control. So, as you can kind of see right here from our first entrance into the lane, we're going to come in and take control of that brush. And since we've beaten the Lulu to the brush, we can now use spells and auto attacks out of the brush and kind of harass the ZYRA whenever he is going for last hits. So, as you can see right here, we're immediately walking up after he's used his boomerang and using our Q on him just to create some pressure and force out the shield. After that, we still maintain brush control the entire time and move to the outside, and you kind of see right here that we're creating pressure on the enemy AD carry, that he's throwing spells at us instead of the wave. After the second wave comes in, though, one of the most important things to do is auto attack the wave. So what we want to be doing is rushing that level 2. Remember, it's the first full minion wave plus the 3 melees from the next one. So you can kind of see right here that I've stopped harassing as frequently and am now focusing on just hitting the minions as much as possible, or the player, just to force him away from hitting the minions himself. And you can see right there that we've gotten our first Electrocute proc off by auto-attacking. A really important thing that you'll pay attention to throughout the laning phase is making sure that you weave in auto-attacks the entire time that you're trading. It makes up a huge amount of your damage on pretty much any support, and it will allow you to snowball the game significantly hard. If you want to think about it like this, as you can see right here, the Q is hit and the plant is hitting 54 and 20 damage. Each of your autos are still going to do between 30 and 50 damage depending on the base AD of your character. So they're basically the equivalency of hitting an entire spell every time you get it off. Plus, if you ever take things that have Electrocute, Airy, etc., it will supplement your damage a lot. So since the fact that we have hit level 2, as you can see right here, we walk past the minion wave and just force on them. On ZYRA, though, her level 2 is really not that great since you're not getting a CC combo usually, otherwise you'll just run out of mana. So I prefer to go W second just so that I can constantly harass people. The majority of the early stage of the laning phase is really just about making sure that you're genning income and poking people down as much as possible. Also, as you can see right here, I'm sitting in the brush once again just so that I can walk in and out and look for skill shots whenever I can. Now, sometimes what'll happen is a ward will get put in the brush, or maybe the brush just isn't close enough to the lane, as you can kind of see right here. So I've kind of gone to the outside right now and just harassed a little bit. Most laning matchups are about making sure that you don't get poked down too much. So as you can see right here, I'm kind of respecting whenever the ZYRA is walking up to throw a boomerang and trying to make sure that I'm constantly moving, like you kind of see right there. And then after that, you see me initiating trades just via spawning plants. An important skill set to understand about plants, though, is the rule of plants. So the way plants work is you either hit the Q and then spawn the plant, and then that will cause the plant to hit them, or you can do another technique, which is auto-attacking the enemy player, which will also cause the plant to just turn and immediately hit them, even if you don't hit the Q or the snare, or if there are nothing else in range of them. So as you can kind of see in these circumstances, I'm making sure to make a good habit of just auto-attacking very frequently. That way, even if my Q doesn't hit, as you can see right here, my plant is still going off and hitting them over and over again. A lot of the early stages in laning phase for ZYRA should just be to survive. You want to create pressure by farming via your plants and getting a poke that you can, but most of what you're looking for and paying attention to are the two things, which are your spell thieves and your mana flow. We want to make sure that our mana flow is getting ticked in as much as possible, and that procs from your plants, so always want to make sure we're doing that as frequently as possible. Another important thing to always remember is after you've pushed in the wave, maintain this brush control, as you can kind of see my character sitting in right now. This allows it so that it's a lot harder for your opponents to walk up and start pushing the wave back. It allows you access to the wave too, and you can create pressure. So as you can kind of see right here, we have access to their wave first. As you see, our wave is coming in from the top side, and because of this, the AD carry is leading it, and we just throw our skill shots from the brush. It's a lot harder for your opponents to react whenever you are throwing skill shots from the brush. So even though this champion has, a spell shield in that sense, or maybe a champion has a dash, etc., just limiting the amount of reactionary time that the opponent has to react to anything that you're throwing out is really great for you. And then you can kind of see right there, we get another electrocute, get the spell shield out of him, and now we just scoot back since we've used most of our cooldowns and now we've accessed most of the wave. Also, a thing to note in this lane too is they ran 2 heals, so they're using that heal just to kind of get their HP prop back up because they're getting poked a lot. Now, once the wave has fully crashed and my cooldowns are back up, you kind of see me posturing to just zone them as much as possible until the next wave comes in, and then we retake the brush once again. After that, it's just easy sailing where we just throw our snare out on anyone that we can and just hit anyone. Now you can kind of see that the opponents are starting to shift forward, and we have a lot of seeds and plants hitting. So because of that, we're just going to auto attack trade anyone that we can, and unfortunately the Lulu flashes out, but we force another heal out too. So despite actually the fact that we still have our ignite, we get a lot of summoners out of this lane, and now we have this huge wave that's going to crash on the turret because we've been able to build multiple waves. So that trade was really good for us because of the fact that they're just going to miss a ton of solo EXP on this lane. Now, after that, we want to get as much dividends as possible. So, since we're pushing in the wave and hitting the turret right now, you kind of also see me dumping spells into the wave behind it. We want to make sure that we're pushing and getting all the EXP that we possibly can. So, I'm just making sure that that wave is easily accessible for us by throwing as much damage into it so my AD carry can last hit it. After we get the first plate, we're going to take our reset now because we want to make sure that we get back into the lane and can pressure as soon as possible. After that, since we're winning the lane and doing significantly better, I decide to opt into a Dark Seal. This is really great on champions that like to snowball or build AP a lot. Dark Seal's not nearly as good as it used to be when it used to give healing received from potions, etc. But it's still not a bad item to purchase if you feel like there's going to be a lot of fighting and you don't think you're going to die that frequently on your mage DPS. Now, if I hadn't felt like that was the case, then I could have also just purchased an Amplifying Tome and gotten some damage there. Another thing that's really important, by the way, is to make sure that we get our boots for mobility. Just being able to move in and out and get more damage on players is really, really important for our first buy, and that refillable potion because we're trading quite frequently. After that, one thing to note is as you kind of see right here, I've retaken another brush, but I'm not moving forward at all because I'm waiting for the wave to run into each other. I call this term crashing, where the two lanes have now met, and now I don't have to worry about them turning and hitting me if I run past the minion wave and create pressure. We're just waiting mostly for the ZYRA to kind of come back into lane, and then we can kind of decide where we want to stand depending on where people are. Another reason why we don't step up too far is because we saw the jungler in the river. So as you can see right here, since we have an advantageous scenario for us, and we've taken a lot of summons earlier, we're just able to step forward and create pressure and look for that snare. Now, the primary thing that goes into this kind of factor is mostly just our buy timing and also our sum advantage. So as you can see right here, the wave crashes in. I don't have to worry about any minion waves running in front of me, blocking skill shots, doing damage to me, etc. And Boomerang is down. So there's a lot of damage missing on them. And as you can kind of see right here, the Lulu is nowhere to be found since she's super far behind. Because of that, we just try to get as many cooldowns as possible by using our Q plant first, looking for the snare, spawning as many plants as possible, and then just dumping our ignite immediately since we know that the heal is down. After that, unfortunately, we only get the heal out, but once again, you can kind of see that we are creating a lot of pressure and momentum in the lane, plus now we can pressure the turret again. So as you can see, once again, we're going to throw our spells into the minion wave. Just get that push going in as fast as possible and help my AD carry shove it into the lane so we can start working on those plates and farming that gold. This is also another great reason why I like to put multiple points in the E, is just so that it can clear out the wave a lot better since it does AoE damage. And you can see right here, we're just auto-attacking the turret as much as possible. And I'm not throwing out any plants right now just because of the fact that I want to be able to hit the turret a lot and not have the plants pull turret aggro until basically most of the minions are dead. So at the end of the trade, we kind of throw out our spells, get some more poke going. And then we can shift over here. Since we haven't really established any great vision, we'll just pink ward behind ourselves and make sure that we maintain pressure in this lane. Since we have a lot of plants to spawn, we're just constantly looking for poke and harass on whoever we can. We actually force the Nocturne to show since the bottom lane is doing quite poorly. Now, one thing to note too is if the enemy jungler is to show up, you kind of see me shifting over to this side. It's because of the fact that we have multiple seeds here. So making sure that we're always falling back to wherever our seeds are. So just in case a gank happens or we need to kite backwards in any way, shape, or form, getting that extra damage from those plants is really, really important. Since I know that the jungler is no longer ganking right now, I just walk past the minion wave and once again look to force because of the HP advantage that we have. A factor that causes me to make the decision to actually walk up are a couple of things. Number one, the wave is starting to crash, so I don't have to worry about minion waves getting in my way of blocking any skill shots, not particularly on ZYRA, but just as a concept, and also making sure that they don't hit me. Because of the fact that we also have a huge HP advantage, as you can see, Lulu is incredibly low on HP, so even if she scoots really far back and ZYRA is the only target, then it's fine to put damage onto him. And this will also allow us to, make sure that we can do anything that we want to them. Also, Nocturne showed at level 5, so I'm not worried about a Nocturne ult right now. So keeping track of kind of the levels of your jungler and what they could possibly do in most circumstances is also incredibly helpful. So because of all these factors, I decided to walk past the minion wave, throw out the snaring plant. We hit whoever we can. The snaring plant hits the Lulu, which sets us up for an easy W on Kai'Sa, and we just score a kill quite easily. Now, since we've scored that kill and have a numbers advantage, you see me walking past the minion wave and just creating more pressure whenever I can. Even if it means that I'm not always hitting my Q, I'm just making sure that I'm constantly keeping spells on cooldown, as you can kind of see throughout this entire laning phase. Now, since we're pushing the wave into the turret, I just throw out my snare, which he actually mistimes his spell shield for, and we're just able to get another huge chunk out. The main goal, though, is that we have a numbers advantage between the lanes, so I'm just throwing mostly my E at the minion wave, and it's a bonus kind of to hit the ZYRA at the same time. Whenever you get numbers advantage, it's really helpful for you as ZYRA to just shove the wave instantly. If you can throw spells and just hit them at full HP and make sure that they're last hittable for your AD carry, that is the ideal scenario, because then it makes it significantly easier for you to push into the turret and play for those plates. And we want to make sure as ZYRA that we're getting ahead as fast as possible. Those plate gold and the Spell Thieves completion earlier on just means that we accelerate into the mid game way easier, and we have just better income. Once again, one of the great benefits of always having the push too is you get to decide whether you recall or not. So as you can see right here, once again, we've pushed in the wave, we stepped really far back out of vision, and we've retaken this brush once again. But actually, ZYRA does a good job of snuffing us out and throws the boomerang. But it's always important for us to be doing this because it allows us to control the state of the lane. So as you can see right here, even though ZYRA actually knew that we were standing in the brush, he wasn't able to access any of the minion wave and start pushing back on us because we are in the brush first. So we have access and control to the wave. This kind of is a descriptor called initiative, which is we get to decide what happens in the lane. And now that we've hit level 6, we actually have a lot of kill pressure. And this is one of the main reasons why we level our E up, is because if we hit our E and then ulti, it's basically a guaranteed kill, even if they're spamming their flash or dash out of it. So this is one of the main reasons why. So we're just escorting the wave, we're shooting a snare through it, and Spell Shield is still on cooldown, so we just use all of our combo right there, and we just kind of one-shot the ZYRA from half HP. It's another reason why I'm a big fan of things like Electrocute, just because if we needed to, that would be the extra damage that we got. One important thing, though, is the comboing of ZYRA. So one thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is just how we use each of our spells. Usually what you want to do is spawn the plant after the spell is casted, since there's actually no animation for actually spawning a plant. So what you'll see me do here in most trades too is we'll snare, and as my character, as you can see, his hand is snaring, I already have a plant right there, so the plant spawns. Then we have another plant, so we Q and we spawn that plant, and we're ulting all at the same time. Since all of these animations can be clipped besides the snare, they're really great to do in tandem. If you aren't very good at it too, you'll need probably 4 points in E, but if you're really good at it, at spamming your ultimate while the snare is going off, it'll make it very easy for you to just snare, ulti combo, and basically score kills very easily, since you'll also have the empowered plants. Really great for us in most circumstances. Now, as you can see right here, one of those great benefits of winning the lane. Plates, 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 plates. So we're just playing for as many plates as possible, throwing our snare once again through the minion wave. And since I have a lot of extra plants here, even if my AD carry doesn't help me, I can just slam it into the turret very easily since we do a lot of damage. And then what I'm doing there is spawning some plants just to cover our escape. Now Nocturne actually comes down here, and a good flash by my AD carry and a snare by me allows us to start scooting away and escaping. But as you can see right here, this guy flashes in a good ultimate by my AD carry, but he doesn't quite survive, but we end up trading the kills. Now, normally it's a good time for you to take a reset in this circumstance, but the main thing to note is that the Nocturne is now giving you blue buff. So as you can see, my health is going back up, and I'm able to create more pressure in this lane since I just have access to mana. Another factor that goes into this too is just jungle proximity. As you can see, my Rengar is on the dragon right now, so I could potentially have him come over and help me too. So that is another reason why we're staying in lane. On top of that, once you can see, we have brush control again. So we are able to sneak in some damage on anyone that is potentially going in. So as you can see right here, we look for the snare, but we don't hit it, and that's completely fine. But making sure that we're just auto-attacking and scooting back. Playing around the boomerang cooldown is the most important thing in this matchup, since boomerang is almost all of the damage. Now, as you can see right here, we've hit the Q. We have Ignite up right now, and we have a plant hitting him, so I decided to opt in by using my Ignite and Snare right here. And this is what I call pre-moving. Basically, I'm anticipating that my opponent is going to throw his boomerang, and the only real way I die is by boomerang hitting me. So you've kind of seen this in laning phase before, where I'm just moving to the left the entire time, so it's significantly harder for him to hit the boomerang on both angles of me. This allows me to score the kill, and bada boom, bada bing, the wave is in a really good state since he slightly pushed it, and we'll just take our reset now. After that, we're going to be purchasing some items. So I recommend that if you do get ahead in laning phase, you buy Sorcerer's Shoes. This allows you to do significantly higher damage since most people don't have any magic resist. And then we're just going to grab Lost Chapter for the extra mana regen, the CDR, just overall a really good stat budget for us, and we'll just leave the base. And now what you'll kind of see right here is good principle. Whenever you finish the Sightstone, no matter what champion you are on, unless you're basically preventing a dive, we want to make sure that we are covering mid lane and getting wards down. So you kind of see right here, I'm walking over to mid lane just to establish some vision and to just defend the turret. So since my mid laner isn't here right now and we can't go super deep into the jungle, you see me just warding over walls. It's really great to do this because if you can't go super deep into the jungle because you're scared of getting killed or your mid laner's just not around, it's really great to establish vision this way. As I'm establishing vision, we see the jungler is right here, we get a snare on him, and my Rengar is already in this vicinity, so I decide not to use my ultimate, and you can kind of see me, I'm just walking the whole time to clear the distance so that all my spells can go off. Now that we've killed the jungler though, and my jungler's in this side, it means that I can go into the jungle now and put down vision. And next what you're going to see is a technique I call ganking your own lane. So whenever you're roaming around, establishing vision, etc., make sure to give attention to your own lane. Especially because of the fact that we're super far ahead and Rengar is coming down, I'm walking after establishing all the vision to behind my opponents. Throw out a snare, which actually is met with a spell shield, and I just get a bunch of damage on him. We walk over here and make sure that we cast our pesky little jungler that thinks he could be a better carry than us. And now we just have full control of the lane. Since we've killed the enemy jungler and established vision here, and now we've killed the support, what is going to happen is we want to make sure that the AD carry can't get back to the turret. Because if he's under the turret, he's significantly harder to dive than in the open ground. So you see me sitting in this brush, we're throwing out the snare, just doing as much damage as possible to him, and using our ultimate just to spawn super plants. This means that, as you can kind of see right now, in this current state, the wave is pushing into the turret right now. I can sit here and grab the wave if I need to and hold it, and the next wave should crash, and we'll just be able to dive him quite easily. This is why going between the turrets was really important for us, just so that we can set up the potential dive. So instead, he decides to fight me and just die 1v1, and we score another kill that way. So the main things that I want you guys to take away from this laning phase guide is as follows. Number one, take control of brushes. We want to make sure that we are being able to harass people as much as possible. Number two, play for that level 2. Auto-attacking those minions, especially on the second wave, is going to do you wonders for getting pressure in that sense. Number 3, make sure that you're spawning plants and harassing people a lot. A lot of times people have a tendency to just sit on their plants the entire time, and we're not going to be able to get a lot of pressure in the lane because of that. Number 3, auto attack. Number 4, auto attack. We want to make sure that we're dealing as much damage as possible, and auto attacks do a ton of it in the early stages. So make sure that we're always doing these kinds of circumstances to create pressure in our laning phase, and you too can start laying like a pro just like me. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment in the section below, and hit that bell whistle. Peace.